Oh, hey, check it out. I'm the CEO of a company now, Controller to TV Studios. We actually just had a huge financial hit with our first console, the Controller Using Interface, or the SWI for short. And we're about to launch our next console, the Wii U. See, this one's going to be much better than the Wii ever was. We're not going to put any marketing into it. We're going to be marketing it to everyone and no one at the same time. It's going to be very hard for third-party developers to do anything on it, and it's going to be a smash hit. And just in time too, because if we don't do really well with this console, we're going to get bought out by Acclaim.
Alright, well since C2T's stock is dropping rapidly, I have some time to fool around, so let's talk about how Nintendo fooled around for 5 years. The Wii U is such a fascinating subject for me. On one hand, Nintendo went all in on a unique console, and on the other hand, Nintendo went in on a gimmick that they didn't know how to market.
Yeah, the Wii U wasn't a terrible console, it was just,
Let's start from the beginning. The Wii is sitting pretty on top of the 7th generation of consoles, with a plethora of smash hits and having the honor of being the dust collector in most people's entertainment center. However, many people, particularly Nintendo fans around this time, were wondering when Nintendo's next console was coming. So what do Nintendo fans do when we get bored?
Why, we make up a bunch of rumors, of course. Have you seen my mock-up of the Switch Pro?
Complete and total disclaimer, I did not make this edit, and anyone that says I made this edit is false and lying to you. This edit was not made by me, it was made by someone else on the internet, and I have no part in taking part in this edit.
After their E3 press conference in 2010, Nintendo's president Satoru Iwata said that a Wii successor was definitely in the books, and it was later rumored that the company had named it Project Cafe. Most of the rumors speculated that the console would be named the Wii 2 or Wii HD, sporting crazy things like a Blu-ray drive and 3D integrated gaming. I guess that everyone saw the movie Avatar and decided, yes, this is what we need for video games next. And I mean, one of Nintendo's consoles did have 3D integrated gaming in it, but the rumors missed it just by a little bit.
And by that, I mean completely.
However, this is where the story of the Wii U's identity crisis begins. In an interview with Miyamoto, he stated that the company had no plans for a next console, and it would still feature motion controls and be cheaper and more compact. And to add to the confusion, Nintendo of America's president Reggie Fils-Aimé also stated that the Wii had a very long lifespan and didn't see a successor coming around the corner anytime soon.
So obviously we waited a long time for the Wii U to come out.
So today, welcome to the world of Wii U.
Or not.
See, now that's the Nintendo I know. Yes, at Nintendo's 2011 E3 press conference, Project Cafe was unveiled as the Wii U. The conference was pretty cool. It had a lot of pizzazz in the show, but when they got to the Wii U, a lot of people's excitement turned to confusion. When talking about the Wii U, they barely showed the console itself and focused mostly on the new controller, the Wii U gamepad. They were super proud of this controller and wanted it to be the main focus of the event. But in doing this, it led a lot of people, especially casual gamers, to believe that the Wii U was just an extension for the Wii. On top of this, Nintendo didn't announce any first-party games for the system's launch, just third-party ports and some project they had been working on. Also, the third-party games that were announced weren't a whole lot, so it had a lot of people worried that if the console was to come out soon, that no games would launch with it. Iwata did the thing he did back when he announced the Wii of saying, "We have a Smash Brothers coming, guys, I promise. I don't know when, but it's coming."
Yeah, but this was just the announcement for Wii U at E3. We probably get another 2 years before the console releases, so it gives us a chance to get some first-party titles with some third-party titles.
Sunday, November 18th.
Or we could just fucking release the console with nothing. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this was pretty sudden back in the day. Nintendo was also taking a "our console will do it all" approach, which was understandable for the time. A lot of consoles were actually doing this because they wanted to maintain the casual markets that they had built up in the previous generation and carry them over while still focusing in on the hardcore gamer of the next generation. But Nintendo really wanted to drive home that this console can do a little bit of everything, and it focused primarily on how the Wii U assists you on your social life as well as gaming, and it just added to the confusion of what exactly did this console do. It came across as a jack of all trades, but a master of none, and it didn't help that this was just pushed harder at the beginning of Nintendo's E3 2012 conference. Reggie started the conference out by discussing how the Wii U was a unique social window. At the time, I personally was like, I don't care about how I can browse Craigslist on this thing, show me Mario, damn it! Yeah, because of this, that E3 was very disappointing for me at the time, as the games that were finally announced just weren't that appealing to me personally. It also didn't help that we had to sit through yet another video explaining how the gamepad worked, because we don't know enough about this gamepad, guys, trust me, we needed to know more.
See, when you talk about something a lot, it means that you like it, but when you don't stop talking about it, it kind of means that you're insecure about it.
After showing us that Sin was on the schedule for the 3DS that year, the games that were announced for the 2012's E3 was Pikmin 3, New Super Mario Bros. U, Nintendo Land, Wii Fit U, Sing, Lego City Undercover, Just Dance 4, Rayman Legends, Batman Arkham City, Scribblenauts Unlimited, Mass Effect 3, Tank, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Trine 2, Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, Aliens Colonial Marines, and Zombie U. The console ended up launching with more games than that, but that was all that was announced at the time, and they all just seemed to be ports, like Batman or Mass Effect. Back then I said to myself, oh, this is great, I get to play these games on my Nintendo console, even though I already had them on other consoles like my computer. It also didn't help that 2 of these didn't see the light of day, 9 of those most people didn't care about or had them on other platforms, and so that left us with Lego City, Super Mario, Pikmin, and Nintendo Land. Lego City was actually a pretty cool IP for the console. Lego hadn't really done an open world game just yet, and to see one come to fruition was actually pretty cool, and I mean, it's a Lego game. I have a real soft spot for those building blocks. Next on the schedule was New Super Mario Bros. U, and by this time, most people were getting sick of the NSMB lineup. Most people had played it either on their Wii or DS, which were the 2 most popular titles, and it didn't help that they just announced it for the 3DS 10 minutes before announcing another one for the Wii U. I think back in the day, I was mostly just looking for Mario Galaxy 3, as I really just wanted to see a new 3D Mario game, and to see another 2D one for me was just a little disappointing. Now, Nintendo Land actually interests me, because they were using a lot of cool ideas that the gamepad gave them, while also giving us a very interesting party game that wasn't just like Wii Sports or Wii Play. Even to this day, I still pull out Nintendo Land and play with friends when I can. It's a very fun game to play still. And then that leaves us with Pikmin 3. Thank God for Pikmin 3, because without that, this event would have just been terrible, but instead it was just... So naturally, the level of faith in the Wii U after this was fully contained and only completely non-existent.
What the f?
Later on in September, Reggie ended up doing a Wii U presentation where he explained a lot of new things about the Wii U. Things like backwards compatibility, so we get to use all the same old we got to use for our Wii. Of course, he continued to explain that all of our Wii accessories could work with the console, but they weren't going to bundle them in because they sold so many of them, everyone should already have them. Sure thing, Nintendo. That's the reason you can go with. This event was also pretty crucial because it unveiled the price point of the Wii U.
Well, Miyamoto did say they were going to make the Wii U cheaper, so what was the price point?
Of $299.99. It's $349.99.
Holy shit, this price point was too high. The base model was $50 higher than the Wii launched for previously, and if you want an amount of storage worth a damn, you have to shell out another $50 on top of that for the deluxe model. Sure, the deluxe model came with Nintendo Land, and you could argue that they needed to charge more for the console because it has the gamepad as well as HD graphics, but if Miyamoto hadn't said that the console was going to be cheaper before, I think we could have swallowed this pill a little bit better. It also doesn't help that most consumers thought they were paying $300 or $350 just for a tablet that doesn't work with anything but their Wii. So understandably, an asymmetrical console that didn't know what it was, didn't have any games lined up for it, and launched at too high of a price point, didn't sell very well. Maybe they should have left it in the oven for maybe 1 more year, just so they could get kits out to the developers and actually get some games built for it, but maybe not. Maybe you're just supposed to launch it out there.
I mean, I guess that even if your kid isn't ready, sometimes you just gotta kick them out. My parents kicked me out when I was 5, and look at me now. My company has only had to go underground 1 time due to bankruptcy.
The Wii U launched on November 18th here in the States, November 30th for the PAL regions, and December 8th for Japan. The release was a smash hit! Just kidding, the sales going into 2013 was very bare bones. They sold 3 million units worldwide on launch day, which is pretty good. The Wii hit about 3.5 million to put in perspective of where that was. So naturally, Nintendo was hoping to hit 24 million units by March of 2013.
Ha!
And then Nintendo didn't make any games for the console. Nintendo went the whole year of 2013 without releasing any games besides insignificant third-party games that you could get on other consoles. Games like Resident Evil Revelations and Injustice Gods Among Us just wasn't enough to bring people over from other consoles to the Wii U. We got Game & Wario later in the year, which is a pretty good title, but unfortunately for Nintendo, Sony and Microsoft both said that their consoles were launching November of that year. So to combat this, Nintendo hit the emergency "we f***ed up" button and decided to drop the suggested price of the Wii U. There's only one problem with this, it's called suggested pricing. See, Nintendo sold the Wii U to mass retailers at just a slim discount, so they would at least sell it at the pricing point that Nintendo had suggested. However, when Nintendo dropped the suggested price, most retailers didn't drop their actual price point, because then at that point they would be losing a profit on all the Wii U's that they had in stock.
Corporations want to make a profit? That's stupid. Look at this Wii U. It doesn't make a profit and retailers love it.
Yeah, most Wii U retailers have taken them off their shelves. So starting on October 4th, Nintendo reduced the wholesale price of the system to retailers so they could actually mark down their prices. It was also at this time that Nintendo released The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD and a special Wii U to go along with it. And this is where I came into the picture. I had a Wii and I was saving up my money so I could get a Wii U, but no games interested me besides Nintendo Land at this point. So once I saw Wind Waker HD, naturally I wanted to pick up the console because Wind Waker is one of my favorite GameCube games of all time. I immediately went out and picked up the Wind Waker Wii U edition and the Hyrule Historia as a way for me to support Nintendo at this time because it was pretty clear the company was hurting. I don't know why I thought little old me could make a difference when supporting a multi-million-dollar corporation, but that's what I did back then. I loved my Wii U when I got it and I was actually super proud of having the Zelda edition. There wasn't much difference about this Wii U except that the gamepad had some Zelda symbols printed on it, and they were actually printed on it. It wasn't just a decal that you just slapped onto the controller. I loved this thing when I was younger, and I felt so special having this unique Wii U. But later down the road, I actually ended up buying just a stock gamepad for a couple of reasons. The first one being is that my Zelda one was getting kind of beaten up. It had this huge scratch inside of it, and the paint was starting to chip on it. And I didn't want to damage it any more than I already had. Plus, I may have been hit once or twice over the head with it, and that was probably a cause for some of the damages with it. The other thing was that Reggie actually teased way back at the start of the Wii U that there was going to be dual gamepad support.
2 separate gamepads.
And of course, this didn't come to fruition because I don't know how they could have. The way that it worked with the Wii U is you actually had to allocate CPU usage to stream to the gamepad. So streaming to 2 gamepads plus running a game, I don't think the system could have actually sustained that. Now, I may have been proud of my Wii U at the time when I got it, but one thing that I never made sure that I brought up in conversation about the console was its commercials. If you were a stubborn Nintendo fan like yours truly during this time, you know the horrors of the Wii U commercials. Holy shit, these things were bad. I don't know who was in charge of marketing for Nintendo at this time, but oh my gosh, this is what my marketing class taught me not to do when you only have 60 seconds to promote your product. As I said earlier, Nintendo wanted to bring back in the hardcore gamers, but all these commercials focused on kids and families. That definitely worked in the 7th generation of consoles, but times change, and it does not work when you're trying to sell a new console that has a tablet with the same name as your previous console that's supposed to focus in on your fans and hardcore gamers.
Okay, be straight with me. Would you really look at this?
Good. Look at that.
Yeah, look like I've been upgraded.
And so yeah, that applies to me as a gamer. No!
And then Nintendo decided, while not okay substances were on the table, of what next to do with the Wii U. In November, Nintendo decided to only release Wii U's in bundles.
Now that is clearly what I should be doing with this Wii U. Hoffman, bundle in some games with our console.
We have been bundling games in with it.
Oh, well then we're good.
Shouldn't we just release the system alone for $50 cheaper so we can get more units moved?
Nah, if we do that, it'll look like we're trying too hard.
Man, I just love putting my insignificant opinion out there with the problems that I had about this console. See, Nintendo did lower the price of the console, but they kept bundling games in with it to keep that $300 price point. Really, in my opinion, they should have released just the console at a price point of $250. See, then at this point, someone could walk into their local video game shop, pick up a new Wii U, and buy a couple of used games for less cost than what a bundle would be. However, things started to look up because even though Microsoft and Sony had released their consoles by now, the Wii U had some traction gaining in it in the next year. See, someone at some time in Nintendo realized, holy we need Nintendo games on our Nintendo console! And with games like Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart 8, and Smash Bros. All releasing in 2014, the Wii U began to sell a little bit more. This year was also the release of Amiibo, which was extremely helpful in assisting the Wii U sales.
But something happened that made all this ramp up come to a screeching halt. Make way for a successful console, bitches!
Even though the Wii U had picked up sales by this time, all of it came to a halt in 2014. So throughout all of this in the background, Iwata had investors of the company just dogging him and pressuring him to put games on mobile consoles or to move on to a new console. The investors kept asking and asking about this, but Iwata said at one point in an interview that if Nintendo put games out on mobile platforms, it would lose what Nintendo stands for. So naturally, Iwata had been fighting this for a long time. So with the company being in a rut, and Iwata having a lot of stress and major health issues at the time, he had to make a hard decision on either to buckle down, lose those key investors, and try and save the Wii U, or give it up and move on. After some serious thinking about it, on March 17th, 2015, Iwata announced that Nintendo had begun working on its next console, codename NX, and they also were going to produce mobile games. To me, this is where Nintendo picked up the Wii U and took it out back, as it were. Fans and investors found hope on the horizon in the form of an NX, but this was a double-bladed sword because even with Splatoon and Mario making releasing, no one wanted to buy a Wii U with a new console right around the corner. It also didn't help that Nintendo simply kicked the can down the road until the NX was released. Games like Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and even games in 2016 like Star Fox Zero and Paper Mario Color Splash all released with medium to negative reviews. Clearly, Nintendo was just putting filler content out there while trying to get NX released as soon as possible in the background. The company announced in 2016 that the NX would launch in March of 2017, and all was quiet from Nintendo until they released a trailer stating that the Nintendo Switch was going to launch on March 3rd, 2017. Nintendo then announced that they were going to halt all production on the Wii U, finishing the console off for good.
I honestly think the Wii U is a really cool concept and is executed in some points really well, but without good marketing or solid third-party support, no console's gonna do well. Honestly, if they would have focused less on this and shown us what the console could have actually done and worked well with developers, it would have been a successful console. But now my free time is up, so I'm gonna check in with Hoffman to see how my console, the Wii U, is doing.
Yeah, the Wii U didn't do so well, and Acclaim still wants to buy us out.
Shut down everything and get the company off the grid again.